Sometimes life is as much about the lessons you learn as the lessons you teach. When I grew up, community was a way of life. My high school class was 24 people. I was related to half of them. I learned to be generous towards my neighbors, compromise without compromising my values, and work for the common good. My dad was in the Army, and with his encouragement, I joined the Army National Guard when I was 17. I served for 24 years. I used my GI benefits to go to college and become a public school teacher. I coached football and taught social studies for 20 years. And I tried to teach my students what small-town Nebraska taught me: respect, compromise, service to country. And so when I went into government, that's what I carried with me. I worked with Republicans to pass an infrastructure bill, cut taxes for working families, signed paid leave into law. I codified abortion rights after Roe got overturned. Because I go to work for the common good. But enough about me. Let's talk about you. Because that's what this election is about. It's about your future. It's about your family. And Vice President Harris knows that. She too grew up in a middle-class family. She too goes to work every day, making sure families can not just get by, but get ahead. We believe in the promise of America, in those values I learned in Nebraska, and we're ready to fight for them. Because as Kamala Harris says, when we fight, we win.
I wanted to start with that ad, the latest ad, the newest ad from Kamala Harris's official running mate, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, because as Republicans and Donald Trump rush to define the governor, I think it's important that he has already defined himself. Someone who cares about community, someone who cares about progressive values, someone who cares about moving us all forward together. And he doesn't care what Donald Trump is going to say about him because he's already defined himself. But that hasn't stopped Donald Trump from trying in a way that absolutely humiliated him. And not only was Donald Trump humiliated, but his campaign press secretary went on Fox News and absolutely melted down because, like I said, Tim Walz has defined who he is and what his values are. And so MAGA and all of Trump's campaign is scrambling right now because they can't land an attack on him. And it's just so funny to see them collapse. So we're going to check that out in just a second. But before we do, I want to get to what Donald Trump said about Tim Walz. In a statement put out by Trump's campaign, he said, "It's no surprise that San Francisco liberal Kamala Harris wants West Coast wannabe Tim Walz as her running mate. Walz has spent his governorship trying to reshape Minnesota and the image of the Golden State. While Walz pretends to support Americans in the heartland when the cameras are off, he believes that rural America is mostly cows and rocks. From proposing his own carbon-free agenda to suggesting stricter emission standards for gas-powered cars and embracing policies to allow convicted felons to vote." Now, I'm going to cut it off there because we don't need to hear any more lies from Donald Trump. But I think it's so funny that Republicans are going after Tim Walz for wanting to restore voting rights to convicted felons and saying that's so dangerously liberal when they want to make a convicted felon their president. So they don't want convicted felons to vote, but a convicted felon can get the votes of the American people and become president? What is the cognitive dissonance? What is the MAGA mindset that is happening today that is causing them to completely lose it? I guess they always lose it, and this is how they've been. But someone who is especially kind of losing control, like I said, is Donald Trump's campaign press secretary, who went on Fox News and tried to levy some ridiculous attacks against Tim Walz that just didn't land, and she's completely melting down. And it's just so great to watch. So let's check it out.
Well, choosing a running mate is Kamala Harris's first big decision as the Democrat Party's nominee. And with this decision, choosing Tim Walz, she has proven just how dangerously liberal she is. Tim Walz is one of the most far-left governors in America. Much like Kamala Harris, he supports wide-open borders. He supports sanctuary cities. In Minnesota, he signed a bill giving licenses to illegal immigrants. Tim Walz, like Kamala Harris, is soft on crime. He also supports the defund the police movement. In fact, in Minnesota, violent crime has increased by 21% since he has been governor. And like Kamala Harris, Tim Walz is anti-American energy. He signed a bill to ban carbon-based fuels in Minnesota by 2040. That is a threat to our national security. That is a gift to China. If Americans want to know what a Harris-Walz America would look like, look at the streets of Minneapolis in the summer of 2020 when they were literally burned to the ground. Look at the streets of San Francisco. Their liberal utopia is every American's worst nightmare.
All right, so as we can tell from that clip, MAGA is in crisis, and they are just losing it. But let's go through their attacks on Tim Walz and Kamala Harris. Soft on crime, Donald Trump is a convicted felon. Bad on energy, the Biden-Harris administration has gotten America energy independent for the first time in 50 years. Their policies are radical. Do you know what's radical? It's trying to ban abortion nationwide. Do you know what's radical? Wanting to be a dictator instead of a president. That's what's radical, and that's Donald Trump. But I don't need to defend Tim Walz's record when he's done such a great job defending it from Republican attacks, and I want to check that out.
Do you think your record is an asset to the ticket, or would it risk fueling Trump's attacks as you being a big government liberal?
What a monster. Kids are eating and having full bellies so they can go learn, and women are making their own healthcare decisions. And we're a top 5 business state, and we also rank in the top 3 of happiness. Look, they're going to label whatever they're going to label. He's going to roll it out, mispronounce names, to try and make the case. The fact of the matter is, where you see the policies that Vice President Harris was a part of making, Democratic governors across the country executed those policies, and quality of life is higher, the economies are better, all of those things. Educational attainment is better. So yeah, my kids are going to eat here, and you're going to have a chance to go to college, and you're going to have an opportunity to live where we're working on reducing carbon emissions. Oh, and by the way, you're going to have personal incomes that are higher, and you're going to have health insurance. So if that's where they want to label me, I'm more than happy to take the label.
I love the way that Tim Walz stands up for his record. Why would he run away from it? He should be proud of it. Republicans want to call him radical. What's radical about making sure children are fed in school when they're learning? Nothing. What's radical about protecting reproductive freedoms? Nothing. What's radical about paid family leave, paid sick leave? What's radical about making sure that roads and bridges are safe to drive on? Nothing. It is a record that Tim Walz is proud of, not only because he knows it's right in his heart, but he knows it's right because he actually interacts with and cares about the people in his community who he's serving. And that's the difference between someone like Tim Walz or someone like J.D. Vance and Donald Trump. Donald Trump is obviously a narcissist. He only cares about himself. And J.D. Vance, as I've seen many people comment below, is J.D. advance his career at all costs. They both just care about themselves and getting power. Tim Walz cares about serving his community because he knows community matters and he knows it's impactful. But it's not just me who knows that, or you who knows that, or Tim Walz who knows that. Republicans even know that. And one specific Republican, a former congressman, wrote in Fox News, wrote an op-ed for Fox News that I want to take a look at. A former Republican congressman just endorsed Tim Walz for vice president and said based on his service alongside Walz in the House of Representatives, he'll be a good vice president. An op-ed in Fox News. I am sure that will drive Donald Trump crazy as him and his stooges try to go on the Fox propaganda network and levy these ridiculous attacks against Tim Walz. And I actually kind of enjoy when Republicans are trying to call out the record of Kamala Harris or the record of Tim Walz, her running mate now, because it actually does a great job educating the Republican viewers who would never see any of this information when they're watching Fox. It kind of gives them a glimpse into their record. It's so funny to me that they're talking about how, oh, scary Tim Walz, he wants universal free school lunches, universal free school breakfast. Is that supposed to scare us? Are people supposed to be scared that their children will be fed when they go to school and they don't have to worry about them being hungry when they're learning? It's Fox actually doing Kamala Harris and Tim Walz's job for them. And although I do not like Fox, and I will never like Fox, I kind of appreciate them in this moment for doing that. They're trying to paint Tim Walz as radical, but in the effort to do so, they're really just making the case for him. And that is what Donald Trump is doing as well, saying that Tim Walz is radical because he wants to restore voting rights to convicted felons. But Donald Trump is a convicted felon. It's just so funny to me, the hypocrisy of MAGA. And it's all blowing up in their face right now. They can't land an attack. They can't make a clear argument for why they should be elected. And so they've just started hurling personal insults that fall flat, make them look ridiculous, and put voters off. This is Donald Trump's campaign. It is spiraling. It is collapsing. It is falling apart in every way. I could keep listing descriptors because they just make me smile. This is a complete collapse of Donald Trump, and it makes me so happy. And I'm so excited about the momentum that is behind Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, and I'm so excited to see them tonight at their first ever rally. It is going to be incredible. And if you want to see the coverage of that, you can go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I will be posting about it later in the day, and I hope that you will tune in. And if you like these videos, make sure to leave a like on this one. It really goes a long way. And If you've enjoyed this channel and want to support us in a little extra way, we are a new and growing channel. We have been around this channel for less than a month, and we've already grown so much, and it's because of you. But if you want to support us a little bit more, you can hit that join button, become a monthly member. I will be doing weekly members-only videos, exclusive content, fun stuff going to be happening on the membership, and it's a really great way to support me in all that we're doing. And until next time, I'll see you soon.